Today, we have a very complicated piece. Most people are very scared from this piece. It's called Rabbi Hanina Sgan Kohanim. But Be'ezrat Hashem, we hope. It's in the drawer on the top. No, we hope to get through it. You see it? Okay. So we're starting on Daf Yudalid. Daf Yudalid Amud Aleph. We're starting the Mishnah. Rabbi Hanina Sgan Kohanim. Make sure it's on. Rabbi Hanina Sgan Kohanim Omer. So Rabbi Hanina was Sgan Kohanim. It was an appointment. He was the assistant Kohen. Mimehem shel Kohanim. In the history of the Kohanim, lo nimne'u. They didn't prevent themselves. Milisrof, from burning et basar, the meat, shenitma bevlad hatum'ah, that what became tameh with the vlad hatum'ah, ima basar shenitma be'av hatum'ah, with the basar, with the meat that became tameh with an av hatum'ah. So we have a system when it comes to tum'ah. The system is you have an av hatum'ah. If that touches, you get a rishon. That touches, you get a sheni. You get a shilishi, and then you get a revi'i.
So what's
right? That's the system. And ava tumah is the source of the tumah. Right? For example, if you have a sheretz, that's an ava tumah. Person touches a sheretz, he becomes a rishon. That person then goes and he touches soup, the soup becomes a sheni, and so on. Now, in chulin only becomes a sheni. Right? That's chulin. Terumah could become a shlishi. And kadashim could become a revi'i. Right? That's the basic rules. Now, Rabbi Hanina Sgan Kohanim says, Mimehem shel Kohanim lo nimne'u milusof et habasar shenetma bevlad hatumah. What's a vlad? It's a baby. A baby of tum'ah. So what's the tum'ah? The av is the tum'ah. And the vlad tum'ah is the baby of the tum'ah. What's the baby of the tum'ah?
Where this av is met?
No, av is a source.
No, the av is, it doesn't say.
How do you become an av?
What's av tum'ah? Sheretz. Sheretz is an av.
But it has to be then, no?
That's sheretz.
And gave it a baby.
What?
And it had a vlad.
Didn't have a vlad. The vlad means it made a tum'ah.
Result of it.
It made a tum'ah. This tum'ah is not an av, it's a vlad. It came from.
Another word for
So it's a rishon. So meaning you have something that's a rishon the tum'ah. It's a terumah shenitma. No, wait. Basar shenitma bevlad tum'ah. So something touched the vlad tum'ah. You have a vlad tum'ah as a rishon. Something touched it means it's l'chaora, it's a sheni. So I have a sheni, right? Im basar shenitma be'avatuma, and I'm burning this sheni with something that became tameh with the avatuma, which is a rishon. Now, in theory, something that became tameh with a rishon, something that became tameh from an avatuma as a rishon, when it touches a sheni, it makes it a sheni again. It's not really increasing tumah. That's what I touched yesterday. I touched the rishon the tumah. I became a sheni. Now again, you're putting me in the box with the same thing I touched before. With a rishon, nothing changed. And Rabbi Hanina Sgan Kohanim seems to be implying that something is changing. Rabbi Hanina Sgan Kohanim Omer. Mimehem shel Kohanim, in the history of the Kohanim in the Beit HaMikdash, lo nimne'u, they didn't hold themselves back. Milisrof, to burn et basar shenitma bevlad hatumah, the meat that became tameh with a vlad hatumah, meaning basar that touched the rishon, which became a sheni, im basar shenitma be'av hatumah, together with meat that touched an av hatumah, which is a rishon. Afal pi shemosifim tumah al tumato, even though they're adding tumah to their tumah. We don't know how. Look at Rashi. Mimehem shel kohanim. Says Rashi, ha'acha nakitla. We're saying this business. Well, all of a sudden we decide to talk about teruma. Ha'acha nakatla. Over here they mentioned it. Mishum seifa, because the end of the Mishnah. The Katani, it's going to say, midivrehem lamadnu, from what they said we learned, shesorfim teruma tehora imateme'a bepesach. That just like you could burn different levels of tumah in the Beit HaMikdash, or Kohanim could do that, and not worry about adding tumah because it's going to get burned. So too, when you're burning the hametz, just make one fire. You don't have to make a separate teruma pile for the tameh and the tahor. It's okay. Milisrof et abasar shenitma bevlad tumah shenaga basar kodesh ze. You have meat kodesh shenaga berishon tumah. It touched the rishon tumah. V'hava le'ihu. So that meat that we're burning became a sheni. Simple. V'lo nimne'u. They didn't hold themselves back. Milisorfo, to burn it. Im hamur mimenu. With something that's more serious, more severe, which is mi shenaga be'avatuma. Meat that touched now, which is now rishon. The ho'il ve'av ze akal. Even though the sheni lisrefa omed is going to be burnt. Lo hashu. They weren't worried. Emetami'im oto yoter mimashaya. Ubigmara parich. The Gemara is going to ask, like we said, my tosefet tuma ika. Where are you adding tuma? Halo gamba rishona. Even the first instance, bevlat tuma naga. It touched the vlat tuma, which is a rishon. Now it's touching a rishon again. I'm not adding tuma. Ve'achshav hozer v'nogea bevlat tuma. Comes along Rabbi Akiva. Hosif Rabbi Akiva ve'amar. Ask. What's the question?
What's the good example of avatuma?
Sheret, a dead rat.
Anything that touches it? Only something that's mekabel tuma.
Only something that's mekabel tuma, correct. Meat, food generally is mekabel tuma. We'll see. There's a chsher for it, but once you machshir it, it's mekabel tuma. Once you qualify it, make it eligible.
We're not talking about dead bodies at a higher level or dead bodies?
We're going to get into dead bodies soon. Don't worry, it's coming up. Everything you're going to be such an expert on tuma. Forget about it. Haber, coffee or no coffee? You don't make me. Oh, yeah. Next time I'm going to ask Jack to make me coffee. That's all.
Monday. From Monday, if you're going to do it.
Hosif Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva added, ve'amar, mimehem shel kohanim. Yeah, you don't call me up at 6:30 to wake me up. Mimehem shel kohanim. From the days, in the life of the kohanim, lo nimne'u miladlik et hashemen. They didn't hold themselves back from lighting shemen, oil. Shenifsal bitvul yom. So now he uses a lashon nifsal, and that's a klal that we should know, especially in general, but especially over here, we're going to need it. That, like we said over here, everything has an end of the line. The lowest tumah for korbanot is a revi'i. The lowest tumah for teruma is a shelishi. The lowest tumah in chulin is a sheni. When you get to the end of the line, I call it the caboose. What's the caboose? Caboose is in English. The end of the train, they have a little car, it's called a caboose, right?
American, I understand, guys.
We don't speak English in Spanish.
You don't speak English. Okay, forget about the caboose.
You're looking at me, I don't understand that.
Only slowly knows it.
If you ever go, the last car, that little car on the train is called the caboose. They used to have a guy on the caboose watching cars that they shouldn't want to go. But that's the end of the line.
Maybe you ask him about
Yeah, the whole banana boat, the whole floor is banana.
Slowly knows.
Yeah, slowly knows. I'll tell you what they call it in Arabic.
Sorry, what's caboose? Caboose.
Forget it. Caboose is washing clothing out. Let's go.
He knows pickles.
Forget it. So now, the last thing, meaning chulin, asheni is pasul. Why? Because that's the last tumah in chulin. And teruma shelishi is pasul. That's the last tumah in teruma. A revi'i in kodesh is pasul.
It's final destination.
Final destination. Doesn't go past this. The tumah ends over there in this topic, in this category. Right? So we say, Hosif Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva Ki'ilu is going to give us more of a hidush. Hosif Rabbi Akiva ve'amar. Mimehem shel kohanim, in the history of the kohanim, lo nimne'u miladlik et hashemen shenifsal. Shemen became pasul betvul yom. What's a tvul yom? Guy went to the mikveh that day, but he didn't wait till the night so that the tumah should go away. So he's called tivul yom. He has the status of a sheni, and he's posel teruma. He makes the teruma unedible, but the teruma won't go mitame other teruma. So now, lo nimne'u mi'aladlik et hashemen shenifsal b'tvul yom. So what's the status of that shemen? Shelishi. Shemen shel teruma. If it wasn't teruma, Eli, it wouldn't be nothing. If it's tvul yom touches holin, it's nothing. And if he says nefsal l'chaora, it means it's teruma. In bener, in a ner, we'll see. Rashi is going to say more about that. Bener, in a ner, shenetma betmemet. This ner touched the tmemet. What's a tmemet? Tmemet. He touched, no. Avatuma. Amet is unique. He's called Avi Avot Tuma. Rashi is going to give us some Pesukim to explain it, right?
So the oil is touching the...
So 1 second. So the guy touched the met. He became an Avatuma. He touched the ner. The ner is like a lamp that they use to pour the oil in, right? The ner is now a rishon. The oil is what? Is a shilishi. When they pour it into the ner, it becomes a sheni. Because the ner, which is a rishon, makes it into a sheni. Ega. 1 second. I have oil. The oil touched a tvul yom. What did that make it? Equals sheni. Shelishi. Right? The oil touched the tvul yom. That equals a shelishi. Now you have the ner touched a av equals rishon. Right? Now you put the shilishi into a rishon. You're going up. Till now you only touch the sheni. Now I'm putting you in the ner. You're going to become a rishon. Right? So you took a shilishi, and in the process of burning it, you made it into a rishon. You increased the tumah. Increasing tumah is better. Did I hear you right? Just asking.
What do you do with the men when
It's better for the tumah.
Which side you working for?
So we do have a concept of mosifim tumah and tumato.
Yeah.
Give you an example.
But he's telling you that they did it. Why did he say they did it? Because once they're burning it, they didn't care. Look in Rashi. Rashi gives you some kilalim. Bener shenitma betmemet. Tmemet avatumahu. Somebody that's tameh from a met is an avatuma. Umetame kelim. He'll be metame kelim dechtiv v'chol asher yiga bo hatameh yitma. Anything that touches a tameh, the tameh, meaning the guy that became tameh from the met yitma, will become tameh. That means he's metameh adam. V'hanefesh hanogat itma da'arev. The guy that touches him will be tameh till the night. Beparasha para gabe tumat met. Alma we see tmemet metameh adam. Someone that touches a met is metameh person. Therefore, asa'o katuv, the Torah made him an avatuma, like a sheretz and a nevela, shemitamim adam, that are also metameh person. Velo kenogea b'hem, not like somebody who touches a sheretz she'en metameh ela ochlim u'mashkim. He's only metameh food and drink. Kedichtiv v'shratzim. When it says b'shratzim, it says kol asher betocho yitma, mikol ha'ocher asher yochal asher yavo alav mayim yitma, v'kol mashke asher yishteh b'cho keli yitma. Over there it's talking about a sheretz that touched the keli. It says any food that's in the keli will become tameh. People in the keli, in the keli, or kelim in the keli, don't become tameh. So you see that something that touches a sheretz could only be tameh food. Mash'en can something that touches a met could even be tameh people. So the rule is, what's mitameh people is an av. What's mitameh kelim is a rishon. Because what touches a met could even mitameh people, he's technically an av.
So when a human person touch Av, he become Rishon or
becomes a Rishon.
Always
The only thing that's different is a met because it's Avi Avot. It makes you an Av. Makes you an Av.
So a person touch till the Revi'ai, that's it?
Person can only become a Rishon.
That's it. If you touch another person, nothing happens.
Nothing. Unless he's an Av.
No, forget about that.
You're an Avatuma.
Av, Nogah, Rishon.
Why are you an Avatuma?
Emet.
Because you touched the met.
Right. And then I touch you become Rishon.
I become a Rishon, but I'm an Av
That's
too.
it.
I touched the met too.
We all
The only guys that are not are the Kohanim.
Not today.
Huh? Zuki never touched the met. Even go into a room with the met. Okay.
Me too. I never touch him also.
You went into the room with the met. Okay. So let's see. Okay, so that's what Rabbi Akiva said. So you have two cases. Rabbi Haninas Kana Kohanim said, we burn the meat together, and then somehow we're going to be Mosif Tuma over there. Rabbi Akiva said that we burn the oil in the ner, and we're Mosif Tuma over there. Amar Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says, Midivrehem lamadnu, from their words we learn shesorfim teruma tehora imatimea bepesach. It's a major leap forward. Rabbi Meir says from these two statements of Rabbi Hanina Segana Kohanim and Rabbi Akiva, we could extrapolate that you could burn teruma that's tahor with teruma that's tameh on Pesach.
Why not? What's the problem?
I'm being metameh the teruma.
But then when you burn it, that's it.
Before it's burning, are you allowed to be metameh teruma?
Obviously not.
Obviously not. So how are you allowed to put it in the fire together? Make a separate fire so you're not metameh. Now it's a quantum leap forward. Why? Because the other guy was burning tameh with tameh. You're burning tahor with tameh. He thinks, what's the difference? It's going to be burnt anyway. Who cares?
There's not going to be in the effect.
There's no. In the end, it's going to be ashes. Tameh ashes, tahor ashes.
Also, you're not allowed to use it after a certain. Probably
right.
At a Pesach.
It's talking when it's asur. Once it's asur, burn it doesn't make a difference.
Tameh tahor was different.
Look in Rashi. Midvrem lamadnu shesorfim teruma tehora ima temea bepesach im zemana biur, at the time of the biur. Tehoil veolechet leibud afa tehora, because the Torah is also getting lost. Va'asura mideoraita, and it's ready asur mideoraita lo haishinan lishmirata. We don't have to worry about watching it. Va'afalgav shemuzarim anu leshomra betara, even though we were commanded, hello, this is my teruma, watch it. Kedechtiv et mishmer, I gave you mishmeret terumotai, the watching of my teruma. Here's my teruma. I took it from the people. I give it to you, the Kohanim. Make sure you keep it tahor. Even so, at this point, the mishmar is over. Mishmar is over. Go home. It's Erev Pesach. Everybody knows.
It's good to do it.
Everybody knows. There's nothing to do. Okay. Says the Gemara.
The efer itself is lokach letamut.
No. Amar Rabbi Yossi, en amida. That's not the way to learn. Your calculation is wrong. He disagrees. Umoder Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua agree.
That what?
Laat. Shesorfim zu le'atzma vezu le'atzma. That you burn them separately. Alman nihlaku. What did they argue about? Ala teluya ve'ala teme'ah. About the one that's hanging and the one that's tameh. Meaning teluya. Everybody agrees that when you have tahor and tameh, you have to burn them separately. They argued about teluya ve'torah, when you have one that's safek tameh and vadai tameh. You have two types of teruma. One teruma is tameh. The other one, we're not sure what happened. So we haven't been here, but it's been on the side. Could you burn those together? Rabbi Eliezer Omer Tisaref Zula Atzma V'Zula Atzma, burn them separately. Rabbi Yoshua says Shetehem Ke'echad, you can burn them together. Where did Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yoshua come in? Who spoke about them? The Gemara is going to deal with it.
Safek Tameh consider one of them said.
One says you can use it. Burn
One that says you can use tahor, you can use teluya.
That's a different rabbi. That's Rabbi Meir. This is in Rabbi Yossi saying that's what they discussed. No, Rabbi Yossi is quoting Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua as a machlok. We'll see. We'll come to it tomorrow, really. Mechdi. Let's analyze the Mishnah. Basar shenitma bevlada tuma maihi. When you have meat that became tameh with the vlada tuma, what status is it? Sheni. It's the sheni. Kisarif le be'ade basar shenitma be'avatuma. When you burn it together with meat that became tameh with an avatuma, mai have, what does it become? Sheni. Sheni v'shenihu. So you're burning a sheni with something that's going to make it a sheni. Mai mosif la tuma al tumato. Why did Rabbi Hanina's Kana Kohanim say you're adding tuma? It's staying in exactly the same place. It was a sheni, it's staying a sheni.
Truma, it's shlishi, not
No. Tuma is not automatically a sheni. This wasn't, no. This guy touched the vlada tuma. He has me that touched the vlada tuma. Vlada tuma is a rishon. It became a sheni. Now he's burning it with meat that touched an avatuma. Hazabaruch. That meat is a rishon, but that meat can only make this meat a shlishi. Amar Rav Yehuda, Hacha bevlad askinan. The Havale shlishi. What? He's saying when it says Basar shenitma bevlad atuma, doesn't mean vlad number 1. It means vlad number 2.
which is sheni.
Right. The meat that it touched is a sheni, and this meat became a shlishi. And now he's burning it with a rishon, so it's going from shlishi to sheni. Says right here, Hacha bevlad vlad askinan.
So vlad now doesn't mean rishon anymore. Now it's sheni.
Right. It's a vlad. It's a kid. Which generation? Kid or grandchild? We weren't specific. Vlad could mean rishon. It could mean sheni. It could mean shlishi.
We're not saying it's ruach shas.
No. He's saying that's what this Mishnah means. Look in Rashi. Hacha bevlad askinan. Hai bevlada tuma de katani matniti. When it says a child of teruma, it didn't mean the child. Vlad ka'amar. The hainu sheni. Ubasar shenaga bo have shlishi. V'chi hada asar file bade basar shenidma ba'avatuma shu rishon hozer v'na'asa shlishi ze sheni. Kasavar shlishi, back in the Gemara, kasavar shlishi mutal asato sheni. V'ha en ochel metame ochel. We have a braita that says that meat is not metame meat.
Is it the status, Yani? Nothing?
What?
Is it the status?
It doesn't transfer. It needs some sort of other. What?
Ochel means only meat or anything?
Ochel. You're right. Ochel. Any food. Veha en ochel. Metame ochel. Titanya. Yachol yehe ochel metame ochel. I might say food should be metame food. Talmud lomar. V'chi ten ma'im al zera. If water will fall on seeds, right? V'chi ten ma'im al zera. When water will fall on seeds, v'nafal min nivlatam alav, and the nivela will fall on it. Tamehu, it's tameh.
So what is my
So that's telling you how the food becomes tameh, and that's an important rule. Why does it mention v'chiyutan mayim al zera? Because food in general has to be mukhshar in order to be mekabel tuma. Right? Like we've mentioned it a few times, we might not have paid attention. When you have fruit that grows from the ground, you have apples that grow from the ground. You pick it off the tree. You pick it when you're tameh. It's not tameh. Why? Because it didn't become mukhshar. If you rinse them, so you wanted to come in contact with water, that water is machshirah. It makes it able to be mekabel tuma. We learned that rule, that in order for food to be mekabel tuma, water has to come on it with your intention. V'chi yutan mayim al zera. When water will be put on food, and then v'nafal min nivlatam alav, and one of the shiratzim, which is tameh, will fall on it. Tamehu, it becomes tameh. That's when the food becomes tameh. Now it could have said tameh. Why does it say tameh? Who? It's tameh. That's a mi'ut. It's tameh, and the next one will not be tameh.
So shlishi, Yani?
No.
So what's the next one?
There you go. We'll see. Hu tameh ve'en oseh kayotze bo tameh. It will not be mitameh another one like it.
The fruit.
Another fruit.
the fruit, not the water. The fruit, not metameh the fruit.
Aywa.
So here's the final destination. We said this.
So,
no,
no, it's not a read. Ochel is not in metameh kayotzebo. It'll be metameh mashkin. It won't be metameh ochli.
Oh, the apple can be metameh mashkim, but not the apple.
Aywa.
So it only be metameh the water, but that water can't transfer over to another apple.
Maybe it could. The apple directly can be metameh another one.
Through water.
Need something else in between. Look in Rashi. He says, "Veha en ochel metameh ochel, v'kiven delo metameh le my tosefet ika." So he says, "Ve'en ose kayotzebo, ve'en metameh ochel kayotzebo. Hu tameh mashma miuta." Let's see. So how is you're putting the meat in the fire with other meat? What's the big deal? It's like they're insulated. They can't be metameh the next piece of meat. So he says, Hanicha le'abaya. Our Mishnah goes good according to Abaya. The Amar, because he explained, Lo shanu ela behulin. This what we say in Ochel metameh kayotzebo is in hulin. Aval betruma ve'kadashim ose kayotzebo. In truma and kadashim, it does make the same. Right?
But at that point, the fruit is a insurance. It can't be mitameh. The other fruit is a sheni. But if it was terumah,
in terumah is a higher level. Terumah is more sensitive, and the tumah will pass even between foods. This miut
Without water.
without water. What?
By touching?
By touching. Water came on before, for sure, but not water in between. If tumah touches water, water touches the
Any
next.
water come before. You dry it. Any water before.
Had to be mukhshar, nothing to
So
talk
you
about.
put the water can, you make it.
And then you dried it. Then you touch another apple that also water came on dry. If it's terumah, it will go. That's what Abaye says. It says this is what we said, that food doesn't transfer. The food is only by hulin, which is not as sensitive.
How
about-
which is sheni, not transfer, but to terumah, shlishi,
Because terumah is more sensitive to it.
but it's less tameh.
What?
Less tameh, no? Terumah is less tameh.
Terumah is less tameh.
Shlishi. So hulin is
No.
not transferring, and shlishi.
The reason is like this. Chulin, why does chulin only become a sheni? It's not as sensitive. Doesn't get affected by a thicker tumah, by a thinner tumah. Terumah is more sensitive. Even a small amount of tumah affects it. Holier. Kodesh is even holier. Therefore, even it's okay, Haber. Therefore, even what's it called? Even a very fine tumah will affect it. And because terumah is more sensitive, it can even catch the tumah from another food. That's what Abaye says. Yeah, so Abaye. It will change. The terumah was tahor. It touched another food.
Let's say the shlishi, the terumah.
Terumah shlishi.
Yeah, it will become a sheni. But even worse, if it's tahor, it will become tameh. It will become tameh in the first instance, even from another food, which we had a pasuk before that we said that doesn't happen. Abaye says that's only by chulin. That miut is only by chulin. Right? Right? Abaye. Let's see. Hani chala Abaye dama lo shanu el bechulin. Ava betruma vekadashim ose kayotzebo. Uleravada bar ava mishmed ravanami. The amar lo shanu el chulin vetruma. He says the pasuk that says tamehu applies only to chulin and to teruma, that they both don't food mitameh food. Aval bekadashim, when you're talking about korbanot, ose kayotze bahem, they do mitameh. Another one. And the reason why they're going to have this discussion, and we'll see it later, look in Rashi. Aval teruma vekadashim ose kayotze ba tiyalfina nevuat Hagai. In the second Beit HaMikdash, we had three Nevi'im that came up from Bavel, basically. Hagai, Zechariah, and Malachi. And in the Nevuah of Hagai, there's an instance where he's in the Beit HaMikdash, and he's testing the Kohanim. He's giving them their, like, a smicha test. Are you guys qualified to work in the Beit HaMikdash or not? So he asks them a bunch of questions. If you have a guy and he carries this and he touches this and then it touches as a tameh, and they said, it's funny, it's different word. Yikdash means it becomes tameh. Kodesh tameh. Right? Yes. And then there's a mahloket. We'll see later. Ishtabush kohaneh or lo ishtabush kohaneh. Did they get the questions right or they got it wrong? It's a mahloket Meaning we have the dialogue over there. We're not sure if they passed or they failed. But we know the questions. But clearly he told them that if there's a nazid, there's a food, and they're touching another food. So in that case, we'll see when we get to those Pesukim, that in somewhere it seems like food is metameh food. That's what these rabbis are saying. So whether the difference is when the Torah said no is only by chulin, and when Chagai said they do is by tirumah and kodashim, or when the Torah said it doesn't transfer by food to food is chulin and tirumah, and Chagai said it transfers by kodesh, or maybe we'll see a third opinion that maybe Chagai is only drabanan or it's talking about something else, right?
So Kodesh also metameh?
Kodesh is a revi'i, sure. The question, Jack, everybody agrees that the system is chulin becomes a rishon and a sheni, tirumah becomes a shilishi, kodesh becomes a revi'i. That's not the question. The question is, does food metameh food?
It doesn't matter which level.
Which level, right?
It doesn't matter which level.
Doesn't matter which level. Ela le Ravina, but according to Ravina, Mishmed Ravada Amar, Mikra Male Divera Katuv, when the Torah said Tamehu, that's a clear teaching. Loshna Hulin, Loshna Tirumah doesn't make a difference if it's Hulin or Tirumah. Eno Ose Loshna Kodashim, Eno Ose Kayotsebo, food is not Metameh food. My Ikale Meimar, so what's the problem in our Mishnah? You have meat with meat, nothing is transferring. Ach, B'mayaskinan. This is not some dry piece of pastrami, salami. This is roast. It's got gravy on it. It's got juice. He poured wine all over it.
Mix it together.
There's wine on the meat. So if the meat touches another meat, it will be metameh. Rashi. What?
Why do you need that water? Is it even if it's in a keli, it doesn't transfer?
Oh, if you put a keli next to each other, no.
You have a
barbecue,
a metal pot.
Yeah.
And you have the tameh meat.
Tameh meat is not giving the tameh the metal pot. Metal pot is a keli, only becomes a rishon. Metal is highly resistant. All kelim are much more resistant to tumah than foods. Just like they don't get spoiled as easy, they don't become tameh as easy. Because it has a higher resistance to tumah. It's not like you're talking about food going in. Tumah is not an absorption. It happens to be. It's resistant to tumah.
Only if you touch each other.
Right? Look in Rashi. De'ika mashkim ba'adeh basar. Keshenaga be'ava tumah haya mashke tofa halea. When the meat touched the avatumah, there was juice on it. V'nitmaima, and that juice became tameh with the ochel. V'have afa mashke rishon. The liquid is also rishon. The keshesorfa, when he's going to burn it, adayin hu aleha, it's still on it. U'mitameh habasar shenesraf im ze mehamat hamashkim. V'na'asa shlishi sheni. The shlishi becomes a sheni. Because ochel is not metameh kayotzebo, but mashke is metameh kayotzebo.
Only if it's wet. If it's not when you touch each other, nothing happen, or
if it's dry, it touches it. It won't.
How do we know how wet?
How wet?
Whatever. It's wet.
Whatever the issue is. No, it's not wet. It's slimy. It's not always wet. That's what the Gemara says, right? If that's the case, that they burnt it with basar, it should say with the meat and the juice. So we don't like that answer. Even though food is not metameh food from the Torah, on a drabanan level, everybody agrees that food transfers tumah to another food, even without liquid in between. So it comes out, according to the last answer, that Rabbi Hanina Sagana Kohanim was saying you're going to burn meat with meat. If you hold that by terumah and kodashim it transfers, it's deoraita. And if you hold that even by terumah and kodashim it doesn't transfer, you're upping the tumah on the drabanan level. And we didn't make you make a separate fire to avoid burning, to avoid upping the tumah of this meat, at least midrabanan. So far, so good?
Which is the Rabbi saying that it's metameh because in the essence there is some liquid in it?
No, because they said even though midoraita, people get confused. We're going to make it all like that.
thought everything after Sheni was the Rabbanan.
Everything after?
Sheni was the Rabbanan.
Rashi says specifically for characters like you. I'm not sure if it's on Amud Aleph. I think it's on Amud Bet. Rashi says that they're all the Oraita. Here, if you look on Amud Bet, there's a Rashi Ela Shma Mina, special for Eli. It's the second line in the Rashi. It's called Seder Tuma. Te'av Ose Rishon. Rishon Sheni Bechulin. Betulo. Vesheni Veshilishi Betruma. Veshilishi Vervi'i Bekodesh. Kula Mideoraita. Hu Bepirkin. For those that are questioning these things. Authenticity of the Tumah. It's all the right. Okay. Hosif Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva added. Mimehen shel Kohanim. In the history of the Kohanim. Lo nimne'u miladlik. They didn't hold back from lighting shemen that became tameh from a tvul yom, which is, we said, shilishi. And a ner that became tameh
The first one.
from a tmemet, so the tmemet is an av, the ner is now a rishon, so you're upping the shilishi to a sheni. Says in Mechdi, shemen shenifsal b'tvul yom, the shemen that touched the tvul yom, my have shilishi. So shilishi, tvul yom is a sheni, made the shemen a shilishi. V'chi matlik lebener, when you lit it in a ner shenitma b'tmemet, the ner touched a tmemet, my have a sheni, the ner is a sheni. My kamash balan. So what's he teaching us? Shilishi mutar la'asoto sheni. That you'll add a upper shilishi into a sheni.
Question.
Oh, that's what he's saying.
You're allowed to do it with Shishani?
When you're burning it.
He's asking, not saying.
When you're burning. What's Rabbi Akiva telling me? That you're allowed to make a shilishi into a sheni, right? Okay. Hainu ha. He already told me that. Rabbi Haninas Kana Kohanim told me that you make a shilishi into a sheni, because we said that he's talking about vlad, touching something that's a vlad. Okay? So what are you adding? What's hosif? You told me something new. Now Tosafot says, if you say like the rabbi that said the other one was the Rabbanan, of course it's a chidush. That one was you adding Tumah midrabanan. Over here you're adding Tumah midoraita. Right? Big chidush. But if you hold like the first two opinions, that over there also midoraita, it's a Tumah. So what are you adding? Amar of Yehuda, Hacha bener shel matechet askinan. We're talking, it's not a clay ner, which is standard. It's a metal ner.
This metal doesn't absorb too much.
Wrong. Way wrong. Right? The Rahmana Amar, the Torah says, Richie's not into Tumah. He's into Tahara. It's Tumah stuff.
I thought we just said it's not mitameh food.
Wow. I said metal is not mitameh food?
Pots, he told him the pots.
I said that the food won't be mitameh the metal.
Okay. So the shemen will be mitameh the metal.
I know. Whoa! Wait. Let's just listen slowly, right? So he says, "B'halal herev." The Rahmana Amar, the Torah said, "B'halal herev o bemet." Right? V'kol asher yiga al penei hasadeh. B'halal herev o bemet. What's a halal? What's a halal?
Dead body.
A corpse, a dead body. B'halal herev. What's a halal herev?
So a guy with a sword?
The opposite. A guy that was killed by a sword.
Yeah.
Now, is there more tumah in a guy that was killed by a sword than a guy that was killed by an arrow, or a guy that was killed because the other guy beat him on the head with a club, or a guy that choked to death? Does it make a difference? Every dead body is tameh. So why does the Torah spend the time to say b'halal herev? So the Gemara understands that there's a hekesh. Herev harehu kehalal. Herev, the sword that killed him, is equal to the halal. Avi avot.
Wow.
So we learn a klal, the way Rashi learns, that klei matchot, metal kelim, when it comes to tumat met only, metal kelim by tumat met take on the same level of tumah as the source. So if a sword that touches a met, not only the one that kills it. You know, you could have said, of course, the sword became tameh because it killed it. No. They don't take it like that. Sword touches a met, maybe even be'oil.
Sword or any metal?
Any metal keli. Sword is the case in the Torah.
Right.
So the sword is a keli, is mekabel tuma. Touches the met, becomes aviyavot.
Maybe we understand from that only whoever they killed the met. That's just okay.
Did I just say that? I just said, you could have said only the one that killed.
He didn't say matechet. Any matechet that.
You ever see a sword made from what? From clay?
Why do you need to know
Wood.
Wood sword?
Yeah.
Very dangerous.
You never saw?
When they were kids, they were playing with
That's for you to play with, not to kill people.
We kill people also.
Yeah. Jack is such an expert. You want to stay away from it. Martial arts, right?
called the toothpick.
How about the pepper can kill people? No, the pepper.
So, Bahalal Harev. So even though you could have learned that it only means the one that kills it, Hazal wa Mekabel, that any metal keli that touches a met becomes aviyavot. Not only a metal keli that touches a met becomes aviyavot, a metal keli that touches an av of met, meaning a tameh met, becomes an av.
So it doesn't go
down. Right? So the metal keli that touches a guy goes lateral. It doesn't go down. Usually it goes down, right?
Like him.
Metal goes side. So the first Mishnah in Ahalot has this thing, and it says you can wind up getting much more, because if a metal touches the thing, it becomes an aviyavot. Then a guy touches metal, becomes an av. Then the metal touches him, becomes an av. You get an extra step on both on the aviyavot level and an extra step on the av level, because the metal stays the same, goes parallel, goes sideways. Now what's happening over here? According to Rabbi Akiva, this is a metal ner. The metal ner touched the tmeh met, it's an av. Now, the shemen is the shilishi. You're putting the shilishi into an av, it's going to become a rishon. So, whereas according to the Rabbi Hanina Skana Kohanim, the shlishi was becoming a sheni, according to Rabbi Akiva, the shlishi is becoming a rishon. Double jump.
Even worse than you can do it.
Even worse.
Shlishi to Rishon.
Shlishi to rishon.
So what's the difference between Rishon or Sheni? What's the difference?
Rishon is much more tameh.
I understand, but from Shlishi not to go to Sheni anyway. So Sheni or Rishon?
You might say you could go up one level, maybe you can go up two levels.
We say that? I mean, Sheni.
We don't. Rabbi Akiva added. He says not only could a shlishi become a sheni, maybe you're some guy like Eli, you think some other stuff is not really so tameh or something. Nah, it's all tameh.
I touched a sword in the museum. So I'm avot now. A sword from the Greeks. Yeah.
How do you know it killed?
You're an avatuma. You can't become an aviyavot. The most you can become is an av. If you went to a funeral, you're an av. The sword didn't add or lessen it.
But we said if the sword is aviyavot, you said.
Hazal Baruch. So is the met.
Touching you up.
So is the met.
You're already done with that.
So you went to the funeral. The sword is not helping you. It's not taking you down. Not doing anything.
He's staying up all the time.
Okay. David HaMelech also had a sword.
Some people we know that have also.
Let's go. Says the Gemara, "V'havi le'avatuma." V'kasavar is teaching you shlishi mutar la'asoto rishon. Says the Gemara, "Umay duchke l'rvyuda le'ukme bener shel matechet." What does he have to say? He's talking about the metal ner, right? And saying that's becoming an av. Nukme bener shel cheres. Say he's talking about clay, and by clay we don't have this rule. Cherev areo kehalal. And where's the hosif? Umay hosif di'ilu hatam tameh v'tameh. V'iluhacha pasul v'tameh, meaning there's a difference in the names. Beforehand we were talking about basar kodesh, right? Basar of korbanot. That stuff could have become a revi'i, but it's a shalishi. 1 second. Meat of kodesh is even becomes a revi'i, right? There's the last level of kodesh is revi'i. So what do I call pasul by kodesh? Revi'i. By Kodesh, I call it Revi'i Pasul. By Terumah, what's considered Pasul? A Shalishi. So in the first case, you were talking about something that's on the status of Tameh, becoming a little bit more Tameh. Not changing the name. Shalishi, which is Tameh by Kodesh, because it makes it Revi'i, is becoming a Shani, which is also Tameh. You went up a level, but you stayed Tameh to Tameh. Whereas by Terumah, the Shilishi is Pasul. Because a Shilishi in Terumah doesn't make a Revi'i. Shilishi doesn't make a Revi'i. So the Shilishi is Pasul. When you move it up to a Sheni, it became Tameh. That's the difference. You're right, they're both shilishi becoming shenis. By kodesh, it's tameh to tameh. By teruma, it's pasul to tameh. So it's a jump in name. You're changing the status on more of a way. Why don't you say that that's the difference? It's a little harder to hear. That's why you have to get used to those names. Pasul and tameh. Pasul is not as tameh as tameh. Says the Gemara, Amarava matnitin kashiter. The Mishnah was his question. He had a problem in the Mishnah. My irya detani ner shenitma betmemet. Why does it say a ner that became tameh from a tmemet? Tmemet is what? He's an avatuma. Nitni shenitma b'sheretz. Let the ner have become tameh from a sheretz. Also avatuma. If it's a ner shel cheretz where there's no cherev areu kehalal, so talk about a sheretz. Why are you talking about a met or a tmemet where you have that cherev halal thing? Must be ela ezeu davar. Where is there a difference? Shehalukat tumato b'tumat met l'sheretz, where there's a difference whether it touched a met or a sheretz. Heve omer ze matechet. That's by metal. Where if you touch a sheretz, you're going to be a rishon, and if you touch a met, you're going to be an av. So therefore, Rava understands from the fact that the Mishnah used tmemet, must be the ner is matechet, and that's the up. You're going from shilishi to rishon. Amar Rava, Shma mina. From our Mishnah we see kasavar Rabbi Akiva holds tumat mashkim letamei achirim deoraita, that this shemen could be metamei others me deoraita. The isal kadaitach derabanan, if you'll believe. And Rashi says there's rabbis later that believe that tuma of mashkin is the Rabbanan in general, right? The isal kadaitach the Rabbanan mechti. Hainer my have my kamahanya lahai shemen. What's the ner changing in the shemen? I leifsule gufe. If you want to make the shemen pasul that you can't use it, ha pasil v'kai. It's already pasul, right? Elama. It must be, it's upping its ability to be metameh other things. Till now it was the shilishi, right? It was pasul, it couldn't be metameh anything else. Now, you reinvigorated it. You made it a higher level of tumah. Now it can be metameh lots more things. So you up the tumah. But if you say no matter what you do, it's not going to be metameh other things, so what's the difference to shilishi, sheni? It's all the same. It's not changing anything. Says the Gemara, Mimai, Dilma letame achiri midrabanan. Maybe you're right. Maybe midoraita shemen is not metame other things, but we know midrabanan it is. So maybe the chidush of Rabbi Akiva is that it's changing its level to be metame other things midrabanan. So Rava says no. Midrabanan, if that was the case, that you're talking that it's going up levels midrabanan, my irya ba'avatuma. Why do you have to tell me that it touched an avatuma, meaning this ner which is an avatuma? Afilu birishon v'sheni nami techila havid. Even if it touched something, anything besides a tvulyon, it's going to make it into a rishon l'tuma. The Tanan we learned, kol posel teruma, anything that's posel teruma, like all the things we learned in Shabbat, all the things that they made a gezerah, that's mitameh teruma, that's posel teruma. Metameh mashkin makes mashkin tameh lihiyot tehila, makes it rishon. Chutz mitvulyon. So on the Rabbanan level, if I touch my hands that are not washed without anything, I consider it a sheni. It's posel teruma. All right. If my hands touch, so it's a sheni, makes teruma shelishi. If my hands touch mashkin, the mashkin become a rishon. Why? Hachamim made a gezerah atu mashke dezav, because the liquid that comes from his av is an avatuma, and it could be metameh kelim. So they made that mashkim is a rishon, and it's metameh kelim. They made very strong. Anything that's metameh mashkim, that's posel truma, makes mashkim a rishon. I say that mashkim is the wild card of tuma. Why is it a wild card? Doesn't make a difference. Anything touches it automatically, wild. It goes back up to a rishon. You're going down. Sheni, Shalishi, you touch Mashkin, back to Rishon. Mashkin has the wild card, but that's Midrabanan. So Rava is saying, if Rabbi Akiva was only talking on a drabanan level, that you're adding tumah. Even if it touches a rishon, it becomes a rishon. Even if it touches a sheni besides for tvul yom, it will become a rishon. Tvul yom happens to be the only exception, that even if he touches mashkin, it becomes a shalishi. So therefore, Rabbi Akiva must be talking on a deoraita level, and therefore he has to say that tumat mashkin l'tamei harim is deoraita. Amar Rabbi Meir. Midvrem lamadnu. Rabbi Meir said, from these two rabbis, Rabbi Hanas Ganakonim that said you could add tumah to the terumah, to the kodesh, and Rabbi Akiva that said you could add tumah to the terumah. Midvrem dema. I learned that you could burn tahor chametz with chametz, that tahor chametz of terumah with tameh chametz. Midvrem dema. Who? Ilayma midvrem Rabbi Hanas Ganakonim. Midami, hatam tameh v'tameh, hachatao v'tameh. Everything is tameh. Ve'ela midivre Rabbi Akiva midami, hatam pasu v'tameh, hachatao v'tameh. Both of them, at least the terumah that you're burning is pasul. You're telling me I could take terumah that's tahor and make it tameh for the first time because I can't eat it anymore? Maybe you're right. I don't see it over there. Not Rabbi Akiva, not Rabbi Hanas Ganakonim. Neima. Kasavar Rabbi Meir matnitim ba'ava tumah deoraita vevlada tumah derabanan demidoraita tahor me'aliyah umay midvrei Rabbi Haninas kana kohanim. Maybe we'll say that Rabbi Meir understood Rabbi Haninas kana kohanim, that he's not talking about something that's tameh midoraita. He understood even if it's tameh midrabanan, and even so if it's tameh midrabanan midoraita, it's 100% tahor, and yet he let you through in the fire. And so, for that matter, tahor is the same. It's getting burned. Goodbye. We will continue tomorrow. B'ezrat Hashem. Okay. I hope.